When Barron Trump entered a prestigious Los Angeles restaurant, he never anticipated his MAGA hat would ignite a heated confrontation. What followed not only stunned the manager but became the talk of the city. It was a bright afternoon in Los Angeles, the kind that encourages a slower pace and enjoyment of the moment. Barron, now in his late teens, had spent a peaceful morning reading and decided to treat himself to lunch. He chose LA Terrace, a celebrated restaurant known for its elegance and exclusivity, a place frequented by celebrities, executives, and influencers. This wasn't Barron's first visit. He appreciated the calm ambience and top-tier service. As he walked through the glass doors, his presence was unmistakable, not just because of his height, but also due to the striking red MAGA hat he wore. It sat casually on his head, a reflection of personal expression rather than a deliberate provocation. The hostess, a poised woman in her mid-30s, greeted him warmly and led him to a quiet corner table. The restaurant wasn't busy, with only a few diners engaged in hushed conversations over glasses of wine. Barron perused the menu calmly, unaware of the glances being exchanged around him. A man whispered to his partner at a nearby table, staff murmured discreetly near the bar. Then, the manager appeared, a man in his 40s with a sharp suit and a determined stride. Approaching Barron's table, he spoke loudly enough to catch the attention of nearby patrons. "Excuse me," the manager began. "We have a policy against political attire here. I'll have to ask you to remove the hat." Barron looked up, surprised but composed. Setting down his earbuds, he replied evenly, "I wasn't aware of such a policy." The manager gestured vaguely toward the entrance. "It's part of our code of conduct. We strive to keep this a neutral space for everyone." Barron paused, weighing his options. Glancing around, he noticed the mixed reactions of other diners, some feigned disinterest while others openly watched. "I'm not here to cause trouble," he said calmly. "I'm just here for lunch." The manager's stance remained firm. "You need to take the hat off, or I'll have to ask you to leave." Barron considered the situation briefly before nodding. "If that's your policy, then I'll leave," he said quietly. Rising from his chair, he gathered his belongings and exited the restaurant, leaving his water untouched. The room fell into an uneasy silence as he walked out, the soft click of the door punctuating the moment. Outside, Barron took a deep breath, adjusting his hat as the warm California breeze brushed past him. He felt a mix of frustration and disappointment, not anger, but a sense of letdown in how the situation unfolded. He had been raised to approach disagreements with kindness, and this felt like a breach of that principle. Back inside, the restaurant buzzed with murmurs. A waiter leaned toward the manager, whispering, "Do you think that was the right call?" That was him. The manager waved off the concern. "We have policies for a reason. If we start making exceptions, it undermines everything. This is my restaurant, and I'll run it my way." Meanwhile, Barron found a bench in a nearby park and began typing on his phone. First, he informed his mother about what had happened. Then, he messaged a few close friends, seeking clarity rather than sympathy. Replies came quickly. "That's ridiculous," one said. "You handled it better than I would have," another added. As he read their responses, an idea began to take shape. Revenge wasn't his goal, nor was escalating the incident into a public feud. Instead, he saw an opportunity to foster something positive. Picking up his phone again, he started making calls, his voice calm yet purposeful. "Hey, I need your help with something," he began, setting in motion a plan to turn the experience into a meaningful initiative. Back at the restaurant, the manager's confidence started to waver as social media posts about the incident gained traction. "Barron Trump kicked out for wearing a hat," read one caption, accompanied by a blurry photo. Another post declared, "No freedom of expression at LA Terrace." The comments were pouring in, and not all of them were favorable. "Let them talk," the manager muttered under his breath, trying to dismiss the growing unease. Yet, deep inside, he could feel the situation slipping beyond his control. By the time Barron returned home, the incident had already gained traction online. Local influencers had begun sharing the story, their takes ranging from supportive to divisive. Barron briefly skimmed through the posts but refused to let them consume him. He wasn't interested in fueling drama or deepening divisions. Instead, he focused on how to turn the negativity into something meaningful. Sitting at his desk, Barron opened a small leather notebook and began jotting down thoughts. He reflected on the day, not just the confrontation with the manager, but the subtle reactions of those around him, the stares, the whispers, the quiet judgments. How could he inspire dialogue instead of conflict? He wanted to address the divisiveness in a way that was impactful yet personal. Suddenly, an idea struck him. A public fundraiser, not just any event, but one with a unifying purpose. He envisioned an initiative that would support underprivileged communities while fostering spaces for open conversation and mutual understanding. Picking up his phone, he made a call. "Hi, this is Barron Trump. I need advice on organizing a charity event." "Yes, it's urgent, can we meet tomorrow?" The person on the other end hesitated briefly but agreed. Barron spent the evening shaping his plan, drafting a proposal to hold the fundraiser directly outside LA Terrace. The location itself would send a powerful message, even in places of division, unity could emerge. With the help of a close friend who volunteered to handle logistics, the project began to take form. Meanwhile, at LA Terrace, the fallout was escalating. The manager's decision was no longer confined to the restaurant's walls, it had become a public controversy. News outlets reported on the incident, quoting witnesses and analyzing the confrontation. Some framed Barron as a victim of intolerance, while others defended the restaurant's policy. The restaurant's social media pages were flooded with comments. Supporters praised the manager for sticking to his rules, while critics called for boycotts, accusing him of hypocrisy. "So much for neutrality, kicking someone out isn't neutral, it's choosing a side," one comment read. The atmosphere among the staff was tense, with cancelled reservations and a quieter-than-usual dining room. The manager, once confident in his decision, now wrestled with doubt. He told himself it would blow over, but deep down, he wasn't so sure. As night fell, Barron finalized his preparations. He knew the fundraiser couldn't erase the events of the previous day, but he hoped it could shift the narrative towards something constructive. The world didn't need more division, it needed connection, even in the most unexpected situations. By the next morning, the quiet block in front of LA Terrace had transformed. Trucks arrived to unload equipment as volunteers set up tables, banners, and a small stage. Barron stood at the center, overseeing every detail. Above the stage, a bold banner proclaimed, "United we stand, building bridges, not walls." Barron had partnered with organizations focused on community building, youth mentorship, and dialogue facilitation. The event wasn't just about raising money, it was about creating a space for people from all walks of life to connect. Food trucks, live music, and charity booths lined the sidewalk, turning the site of a contentious moment into a vibrant community gathering. By midday, a crowd began to gather, families, young professionals, activists, and even a few familiar faces from social media. When Barron took the microphone, his voice was steady, filled with purpose. "Yesterday, I was asked to leave this restaurant because of a hat. That's okay, I respect their policies, even if I don't agree with them. But what stood out to me wasn't just being turned away, it was the larger issue. We've become too quick to judge, to take sides, to shut down conversations. That's not who we are. We can do better." The audience erupted in applause as he continued, "This event isn't about me, and it's not about them. It's about all of us, finding ways to listen, to understand, and to come together." The crowd's energy surged with hope and unity, proving that even moments of discord could pave the way for meaningful connection. The funds we raise today will be dedicated to programs that promote dialogue and inclusion. Thank you for being here and showing that unity is far more powerful than division. The crowd erupted into applause, louder this time, as Barron stepped off the stage. He made his way through the attendees, shaking hands, exchanging smiles, and thanking people personally. His composed demeanor and heartfelt message struck a chord with many who had initially come out of curiosity but left feeling inspired. Inside LA Terrace, the atmosphere was starkly different. The manager stood at the window, observing the vibrant event outside. He hadn't anticipated Barron's response, and it left him unsettled. Some of his staff had slipped out to join the fundraiser, drawn by the lively music and sense of community. One of the waiters, who had witnessed the confrontation the previous day, returned inside and hesitated before speaking. "You should go out there, talk to him." The manager stiffened. "This isn't my fight." "Maybe not," the waiter replied gently. "But it might be your chance." The manager didn't reply, but his expression softened slightly. He poured himself a glass of water and watched as the crowd outside continued to grow. Something about the scene stirred a feeling he hadn't allowed himself to acknowledge, until now. As the fundraiser gained momentum, social media buzzed with photos, live streams, and hashtags like #BuildingBridges and #UnitedWeStand, celebrating Barron's calm resolve and uplifting message. Local news crews arrived, capturing the event's vibrant energy in Barron's speeches, which resonated with attendees. Inside the restaurant, however, things were different. Tables that were once fully booked sat empty, and the few diners who did come seemed distracted, stealing glances at the event outside as though they were missing something meaningful. The tension among the staff was palpable. A server cautiously approached the manager. "Some customers are asking about the event. They're saying it looks amazing and maybe we should go out there." The manager's jaw tightened. Without responding, he retreated to his office and closed the door. Sitting at his desk, he scrolled through a flood of emails, complaints, cancellations, and critiques from local media. One email stood out, a message from a loyal customer who had always been supportive. "I've always loved LA Terrace," it read, "but yesterday's incident was disheartening. Asking someone to leave over their personal beliefs isn't neutrality, it's divisive. I hope you'll find a way to make this right." The word struck harder than he expected. He leaned back, running a hand through his hair. Had he been wrong? Was his decision really about neutrality, or something deeper he hadn't been willing to confront? Meanwhile, outside, the event reached its peak. A jazz band played on stage, children painted murals at an art booth, and donation boxes overflowed. Barron moved through the crowd, listening to stories, shaking hands, and posing for selfies, not with arrogance, but with a quiet confidence born of genuine purpose. As the sun dipped lower, casting a warm glow over the scene, a ripple of excitement spread through the crowd. Heads turned toward the restaurant doors as the manager stepped outside. He hesitated at the top of the steps, adjusting his tie nervously before making his way toward Barron. The crowd fell quiet, parting slightly as the manager approached. Barron noticed him and offered a polite, welcoming smile. Without hesitation, he extended his hand. The manager paused briefly before accepting it. "I'd like to talk," he said softly, his voice barely audible over the hum of the crowd. "Of course," Barron replied, gesturing toward a quieter spot at the edge of the event. The two walked together, the crowd watching respectfully as they found a place where the noise was subdued. The manager's usual confidence was tempered by an air of unease. "I need to start by saying I didn't handle yesterday well," he admitted, his tone low. "I thought I was doing what was best for my restaurant and my staff, but I realize now that I made a mistake. I judged you, and I acted out of fear, not fairness." Barron listened carefully, his expression calm yet encouraging. After a thoughtful pause, he said, "It takes courage to admit when you're wrong. Thank you for saying that." The manager exhaled, the tension visibly leaving his shoulders. "Seeing what you've done here today, it's humbling. You could have retaliated, turned this into a public attack on my business. But instead, you created something positive. That's not something many people would have done. Barron offered a faint smile. I don't think the world needs more anger or division. What happened yesterday could have easily added to the noise, but I wanted to show that there's another way. The manager nodded, his expression thoughtful. You've shown that, and I'd like to support what you're doing. If there's any way I or the restaurant can contribute, I'd be happy to. Barron considered this for a moment. I think the best way to contribute is to reflect on how we treat one another. Policies are important, but they should never overshadow kindness and understanding. Maybe LA Terrace could host an event like this one, something that brings people together instead of driving them apart. The manager blinked, surprised by the suggestion. But then, a small smile formed at the corner of his mouth. I think that's a fantastic idea. Let's make it happen. They shook hands again, this time with a sense of genuine warmth and mutual respect. The crowd, sensing the resolution, began to applaud. It wasn't polite, obligatory clapping, it was heartfelt, a recognition of the significance of the moment. As the event drew to a close, Barron stepped onto the stage one final time to thank everyone who had come out to support the cause. He ended with a simple but impactful message. We all make mistakes. What truly matters is how we choose to grow from them. Today wasn't just about raising funds, it was about showing that even when we disagree, we can still find common ground. Thank you for proving that unity isn't just possible, it's necessary. The crowd erupted in cheers, their voices filling the air with hope and renewed energy. As the sun set over Los Angeles, Barron stood with his friends and family, watching as the last of the attendees departed. They carried with them not just memories of the day, but the deeper meaning behind it. The story serves as a reminder that conflicts, whether big or small, don't have to end in bitterness or division. By choosing grace, understanding, and proactive solutions, even the most challenging moments can become opportunities for connection and growth. Scrolling through his phone at the bar, the manager felt a knot tighten in his stomach as the fallout unfolded.